You said interview a real bitch.
Interview a real bitch. Okay. I said it just like that. Interview a real bitch. What's up? What's up with the interview?
There is no order without chaos, and so we talk. And before I introduce my guests, I want to get straight into this game. Are you ready to play?
Let's play.
You ready?
Let's play.
All right, so it go like this. You got to answer as soon as possible. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm just going to say two names, and you're going to pick one.
Okay.
You ready? Keep it a beat. So, Nekia or Kim? Hey, you only got 10.
Kim.
Cardi or Megan? 10.
Megan.
Balenciaga or Versace? 10.
Versace.
Dread hair or waves?
Oh, dread hair.
Ooh. Henny or Casamigos?
Damn.
What you saying though?
I said it was gonna be a Henny summer. Henny summer.
So anything can happen?
Anything can happen, but I'm still switching lanes.
You switching? Oh, you?
Yeah, I do that.
Swervy night.
Yeah, I do that.
All right, cool. So, would you prefer an African or a Jamaican man?
I actually have a Jamaican problem right now, so I'm open to trying new things. Please bring me the Africans.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about that Jamaican problem in just a second. We'll talk. Okay, so open or monogamous relationship? 10. Nah.
Monogamous.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get into that as well.
Yeah.
This is a little spicy. Kids, turn the channel. Down south dick or up north dick?
Down south.
What you mean
down
by that?
south?
We'll talk about that.
I'm standing on that one.
Okay.
Down south.
And the last question is: a short hair or long hair?
Is that like for me?
This is for you. This is for you.
Long.
This is for you.
This is for you. It's for you.
Yeah.
How many inches that you got in right now?
Honestly, I don't know. This is actually shorter for my braids than what I usually like to do. It might be like 20 something, like 22, 24.
If it ain't 26, the better you ball.
Because if you ain't rocking 22 inches or better, bitch, you're practically bald.
Yeah, I don't.
All right. So first off, I want to say that there is no order without chaos, and so we actually, we talk.
Okay.
I want to say thank y'all so much because
I'm just so lucky to be a part of this history. It's probably the most important day of my life.
I'm monetized, and I've only done this to be my 4th show, so I really appreciate it. I appreciate y'all watching and supporting and liking and commenting. I'm very excited. I'm very grateful, so I'm very thankful. Now,
congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I was really just minding my business, doing me like I be doing, and I had went to this barbecue in Harlem, and this was actually last week Saturday.
Yeah,
and I got there late because it was raining.
It was the New York City, New Jersey Alliance.
Yes. Shout out to them.
Great cookout.
It had rain. We got there kind of late, and everybody was just kind of kikiing, lolly-dowing. And I seen this beautiful young woman who I've been following her on social media, see her out. She cute, tall, sexy, all that. And she said something to me that stuck to me, and it just was like it stood out, and I loved it, and I fell in love with it. Then I ended up falling in love with her, and I had to talk to her. And you said, interview a real bitch.
Interview a real bitch. Okay. I said it just like that. Interview a real bitch. What's up? What's up with the interview?
So I have Nekia, Nikki, Mother Zulu, Giraffe Pussy, Saint Laurent, X Juicy,
now Versace.
Yeah. Can we talk?
Let's talk about it. What you want to know?
I pretty much want to know everything, so I'm going to start at the beginning of things, right? So, how you feeling?
Frazzled, but I'm here. My friend, he was telling me to stay present, so I'm trying to stay present with everything. And right now, presently, I feel amazing. I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad I'm doing this interview.
I'm glad you are too, and I appreciate you being here because you told me everything that was going on. It's some incredible things, and then some very dark things, and it's like your darkest hour come before your dawn. So it's some good things ahead of you, though. I can feel that.
I feel that too. I feel that too.
So where you from?
I'm originally from Florida. I traveled around a lot in the South. I went to college in Alabama for a while.
Okay.
I lived in Atlanta for a period of time. I lived in Texas for a while. I was back and forth to Texas. Some people know me from Texas because that's where I started ballroom at.
Really?
But I'm originally from Florida.
Why so much moving around?
Well, by the time I graduated, I feel like the major reason why I went to Alabama first was because that was the only school that well, besides Clark, Alabama A&M was the only school that had fashion as a major.
Okay.
And was a HBCU. So I wanted to do that. And once me moving from like Texas to Atlanta back to Texas, that just came from like my parents not really being accepting of like me and my sexuality and like my gender expressions and things like that. So by that time I was like, girl, I'm 18 going on 19 going on 20. I can hit the road. Like, that summer back from college, words and things being exchanged between me and my parents and stuff like that. That's when I like packed my stuff up and went to Texas. I was in Texas for a while. Then I went to Atlanta. I was like, I met this nigga and went to Atlanta with this nigga. Not the smartest decision.
Well,
I know.
it's a very classic decision.
It's so classic.
It's the classic.
It's so classic.
Story.
And
he liked me. He loved me. He's
yes, like I just knew he loved me, and I went to Atlanta with him, and it was so short lived. But I ended up staying in Atlanta.
Why?
I have friends and stuff in Atlanta, and I also was starting to get into acting. I was starting to get into modeling, and I was starting to get into styling.
Okay.
I had a job for Ted Baker of UK, out of Ted Baker of UK, but he had a standalone store in Lenox, and then he had a store in Bloomingdale's.
Okay.
So once I started working in both of those, that kind of like made me a little bit more comfortable. I started styling out of there and getting little clients, upcoming artists and stuff like that. Going to a studio, working at a nightclub. Like I started like moving around.
Becoming you.
You know, started becoming me in Atlanta, and that somewhat made me want to stay, even though I probably wasn't at my I know I wasn't at my happiest looking back at it, because I'm having to navigate without any guidance, without any help. Like I'm still doing this on my own. At one point I was homeless, you know, and in Atlanta. I've always been the type of person that, one, I try to make sure that my situation, I never look like my situation, and two, despite what my situation is, I'm gonna keep persevering through it. So I stayed there, and eventually when a woman was fed up, she was fed up, and I went back to Texas. When I went back to Texas, at that point, I had already, before I left and went back to Texas, I started getting back interested in ballroom. Ballroom had always kind of been present, where I knew people in ballroom and stuff like that, but I had never made the step to get involved in ballroom because I was so young. But by the time I went from Atlanta back to Texas, I started asking around about ballroom, but eventually I ended up becoming a Marciano and a Mizrahi.
Okay.
Andre had actually moved to Texas around that time. I think he had just got to Texas.
Wow, I didn't even know he moved to Texas.
He had moved to Dallas. He actually, I want to say he didn't even stay that far away from me at the time. And that's kind of like, that was pretty much the beginning of that.
The beginning of you getting into ballroom.
Yes.
So during this time, when did the transition happen? When did you start the transition?
I didn't transition until we're in 2023. I didn't transition until 2021. And I started ballroom in 2019.
Oh, so then let's get into the ballroom thing. Okay, so when you got into ballroom and you were asking about it, what were you interested in specifically with ballroom when it pertains to a category?
So honestly, since I was like 17, just being like popular in Florida and just being around.
Just being the it girl.
Just being the it girl, no shade. And then like being around older people. They knew who I was, and I always modeled. So it had always been pressed on me up until I joined Runway. They wanted me to do Runway. But the thing was, I was booked for Runway, so I really didn't see a need or a want to come to ballroom and do Runway. It just wasn't something that really interested me. But what was interesting to me was Vogue.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was interesting to me too.
I always watched it. I just always watched like the Femme Queens and stuff like that. I always watched the clips, but I never ever like all those years, like from like 16 going up until like 19, 20, I never tried voguing, like not for real. Like
you would just watch
by the time I started practicing the shit in the house, it was when I was like in that position of like just before I moved from Atlanta to Dallas. So it was always pressed on me to do Runway. So like initially when I joined Mizrahi and Marciano, it was for Runway and performance second, but the emphasis was on Runway.
But you really wanted to perform.
I want to perform in my heart. I'm so Baptist. That is crazy.
I'm very interested in this because I DM'd you and I was like, I am in love with your Vogue because I seen this LSS. I seen this LS. No, it was, I don't know. I think it was your 10s or maybe LSS. your Vogue, for you to be such a new girl, is so old school, dramatic femme queen.
That's all I watched.
It is so fab to me.
All I watched was like the old girls. When I first started watching Vogue, it would okay. So like the first clip I ever seen was Sequoia, and she was voguing at Jack's birthday ball in like all white. I did not understand what I was watching. I didn't even understand I was looking at a trans woman. All I saw was a woman in a blonde wig, and she looked cunt. I know the like. Once I started getting into Vogue and like the kind like the videos and stuff like that, I was watching like the gloves. Like I remember Ricky's tins in that all pink.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, I was obsessed. And then like watching the gloves, and then like when I saw Sanaya versus Alyssa, that's when it changed. Then I started just only watching old school girls. I fell down the Sanaya hole. I fell down an Alyssa rabbit hole. I fell down an Ashley rabbit hole. Like I started like just watching all of those kind of old girls. And then by the time I discovered Lola, I had to get up and learn.
Lola Ebony.
Yes.
Lola
I
Ebony.
always talk about her because I just love her so much, and I feel like she just deserves, like, I hope she still watches and still like just peeks
just
in the ballroom, like in the ballroom world still, because I love her so much.
Lola, we love you.
No, we love you, girl.
Like I was watching an interview with her with Luna, and I was just like, wow, I just love her so much. I love the dramatic cuntness of things. I'm in love with that. So then you got into the ballroom scene, and you was in Texas, but you in New York now.
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
I won $1,000 for Runway my first night at a ball.
And this was where?
Texas.
Word. Congratulations.
Thank you. And after that, I did not want to do Runway no more. Because it just gave, I was in this mindset of like, I didn't like being judged for something that I do professionally. Like that's my job. So I don't want to come somewhere that's supposed to be extracurricular doing my job. It didn't feel like, I didn't look at it as a creative outlet at that time. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I joined Garcon.
Did you? Never knew. What happened?
You know, I always say this. Just because you do not know, just because you don't like caviar, right? It doesn't change the price. That just change the fact that it's expensive as hell. You know, and even though that egg is sitting in the star jewel, it's sitting in the fish, that doesn't change the value of that egg yet.
Absolutely.
Right. So I just feel like they didn't understand the value of what they had.
Okay.
And, you know, that's on them.
Absolutely. And their house ball is coming up, so make sure y'all check that out.
Yeah, make sure y'all go to house ball. No, for real. Shout out to everybody who made the list as well. Congratulations.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But they wanted me to come for Runway. I wanted to come for performance. They gave me the ultimatum, like, you either doing one or the other, basically. Like, we want you to come for Runway. You can't do Runway performance. I told them, well, girl, I'm only going to do performance. And being a dummy, I told them drag performance. Never had been in drag.
Really?
Yes. Never had stepped in drag. Never put a wig on.
How dare you
just threw myself to the wolves. And
but it's like subconsciously you knew.
I knew.
That's
dope.
Literally,
like, they argued for a minute about it. It came outside, handed me a wig, and I vogued down at like the intake. And once they see me, like, Mermaid had brought me her heels, and I had walked back in with the heels and the wig on, and they like sent me back outside. Eventually I ended up joining, but they still felt like it wasn't a fit. But it also was one of those things, like, me trying to do drags made me realize I'm trans. Actually, the first time I really got in full drags, I hated it. I fucking hated it. I felt like I looked so ugly. I felt so uncomfortable the entire night. I remember I walked into the ball, nobody even recognized me because I was cunt. I was cunt. Like, for me at that time,
respectfully,
I was cunt. I was respectfully cunt.
Respectfully, she was cunt.
No shade. And I remember I had walked past people who like knew me, and they was like, "Bitch, I did not. Wow, you look good." But I felt like I did not look good, and I did not like how I looked. It wasn't until I was taking it off, and I remember I had on this like skirt and a button up top, and I, at the end of the night, took out everything. I just had on the top, my wig, my hair, and it looked like I was like chilling in my boyfriend's tea with a bra on. I was like, actually,
what happened? What happened?
I see it for you, girl. No shade. You right there in that mirror. I see it for you.
That's what you do.
And that's what made me realize, like, I couldn't do drags because drags is putting on a woman, and I'm actually a woman. I don't need to put on and like do on anything. Like, I'm a woman. So that kind of jolted everything. But At that time, I had just moved back from Texas back to Florida. I lived with my grandparents.
Back to Florida. Ooh.
So even when I was getting in drags and doing at this time, I was actually like living my life as like a masculine presenting butch queen. I had a job at a courthouse. I was like going by Nick. I literally could not be who I wanted to be. All my female clothes, all my makeup was hid underneath my bed, away from my parents to see. I also at this time I had already started doing porn.